Group 3 will be presenting DuPont's proxy fight with Trion Fund and the merger with Dow Chemical. Group 3 members are Isaiah Beatty, Wendy Feller, Ayanna Flores, Jake Gonzalez, Jason Gonzalez, and Matt Malloy.
To better understand this case, it is important to understand who DuPont was as an organization prior to the proxy fight with the Trian Fund. DuPont was founded in 1802 as a gunpowder manufacturer in Wilmington, Delaware. DuPont grew to be massive over the years. They were one of the original Fortune 500 members in 1955 and are still on the list today. The DuPont family held control in DuPont until the 1960s. The company has diversified through its history. During the 1800s, gunpowder was the organization's primary focus. In the early 1900s, they expanded into smokeless powder and dynamite. Throughout the 1900s, they continued to diversify further. They grew to create chemicals, materials, agricultural supplies, and broke into biotech. Today, we can thank DuPont for things such as nylon, Kevlar, Teflon, and biofuels. DuPont has been responsible for the creation of many of the materials and chemicals we use today. The organization has also served our country from the War of 1812 to the global war on terror.
Leading up to the Trian proxy battle, DuPont faced significant turmoil, primarily linked to its production of PFAs, or forever chemicals, which were found to cause severe health problems like cancer, thyroid issues, and birth defects. This contamination traced back to DuPont's manufacturing operations, particularly near its Chambers Works plant. As the health impacts of PFAS became more widely understood, lawsuits and regulatory scrutiny increased. DuPont's response included several strategic moves, the most notable being the spin-off of its chemical business into Chemours. This decision shifted responsibility for billions of dollars in PFAS liabilities to Chemours, a company without financial resources to cover the mounting costs. This led to accusations that DuPont had deliberately offloaded environmental obligations to avoid paying for the damage caused by its products. During this period, DuPont faced intense public and legal pressure as it grappled with the fallout from its actions. The company moved to restructure, distancing itself from chemical legacy, while its spin-offs struggled to address the costly consequences of its past process. In addition to the liability issues it was facing, DuPont encountered several other challenges. As a highly diversified organization, it had to navigate intense competition across multiple industries. This diversification also introduced regulatory complexities, requiring compliance with a broad range of laws. The resulting corporate structure became increasingly intricate. Adding to these difficulties, DuPont's once rapid growth began to stagnate, partly due to a shift in focus towards shareholder interests rather than long-term organizational expansion. Together, these factors all created an environment where challenges were inevitable.
After hearing the history of the DuPont family and company, let's explore the background for the proxy fight with the Trion Fund, one of the largest proxy battles in U.S. history given DuPont's market value of $68 billion. As a demonstration of shareholder activism, Nelson Peltz of Trion Fund Management, one of the largest stockholders of EI DuPont de Nemours and Company, launched a proxy fight for 4 out of the 12 seats on the DuPont board. The fund had previously published a public letter addressed to shareholders outlining its proposal to break the company into 3 areas: agriculture and nutrition, industrial materials, and performance chemicals, as well as criticize the company for its declining performance. CEO and Chairman Ellen Kullman and her board were left with the difficult decision and decided they should go face-to-face with Peltz in a very public proxy fight. I'd like to walk you through the timeline. January 9th, 2015, Peltz launches the proxy fight. A month later, in an effort to appease Peltz and Trion, Ed Breen of Tyco was appointed as the independent director to the DuPont board, along with James Gallegly. But this didn't satisfy Trion, and they continued to pursue the proxy fight. Wednesday, May 13th, 2015, was the company's annual shareholder meeting in Wilmington, Delaware, where a final vote was held, and Trion conceded defeat in its battle to join the board. While Peltz may have lost his proxy fight, he was still a large shareholder and was instrumental in ousting Chief Executive Ellen Kullman 5 months later after the company warned of lower profit. Her replacement, Ed Breen, who presided over a major restructuring at Tyco International, quickly began to make changes and put a breakup back on the table. Ed cut the budget, laid off employees, terminated contracts, and consolidated units. On December 15, 2015, Breen outlined what could be the end of the DuPont that has existed for more than 2 centuries when he announced they would be merging with the Dow Chemical Company to create a $130 billion conglomerate that would later be broken up into 3 separate companies. Effective August 31st, 2017, Dow DuPont announced the successful completion of the merger of equals between the Dow Chemical Company and E.I. DuPont de Nemours and Company. The combined entity was then operating as a holding company under the name Dow DuPont, with 3 divisions: agriculture, material science, and specialty products.
As of September 2014, funds managed by Trian Funds owned approximately $1.6 billion of E.I. DuPont. Trian believed DuPont continued to underperform and repeatedly failed to deliver promised revenue and earning targets. Trian argues that DuPont continues to execute flawed business plans, and the reason being is that the conglomerate structure of DuPont is destroying value. In a letter to the board of directors to DuPont, dated September 16, 2014, Trian outlined the following inefficiency in summary. First, excessive holding company cost. Trian estimated $2 to $4 billion in excess corporate costs and $1 billion were disclosed as unallocated corporate expenses. This includes and may not be limited to expenses such as maintenance of a country club, a theater, and a hotel. Number 2, disparate business and overwhelming complexity allowed management to be incapable of meeting their own guidance. Number 3, lack of accountability has caused below industry standards averages in revenue growth in multiple segments of the company. Number 4, inefficient capital structure has limited shareholder returns. And lastly, DuPont failed to deliver low earnings per share volatility and strong earnings per share growth. In conclusion, Trian argues that the conglomerate structure and resulting inefficiencies have led to subpar financial performance and low management credibility, in turn was the cause for the proxy fight.
Hello, my name is Isaiah Beatty. Today I'm going to discuss the key reasons behind the merger between Dow and DuPont, which took place in 2017. The merger was driven by a strategic vision to create a more competitive, innovation, and efficient global enterprise. First, the merger was designed to create greater value through diversification by combining DuPont's science-based innovations with Dow's expertise in the material science. The company were behind building a more diversified portfolio, in which this allowed them to strengthen their position in the global the global industry, such as agriculture, chemicals, and specialty products, ultimately driving higher value for shareholders. And the second reason was the cost synergies, or a major focus. Dow and DuPont anticipated significant efficiency gains by consolidating their operations and eliminating redundancies. By streamlining their management and operations, they expected to achieve lower costs, which would directly improve their profitability. Third, the merger aimed to strengthen their innovation capabilities. Both companies were known for their R&D efforts, and by combining forces, they could better leverage their technological advancements. The goal was to accelerate innovation, particularly in fields like agriculture and material science, where both had established expertise. Fourth, the merger provided an opportunity to increase scale and global reach. With a combined global footprint, the new entity was better positioned to serve markets worldwide and at a greater scale, which meant an enhanced market presence, improved distribution networks, and the ability to better compete on a global level. Fifth, the company's long-term strategy involves splitting into three separate companies focused on agriculture, materials science, and specialty products. This separation, once completed, was intended to unlock greater value for shareholders by allowing each entity to focus on its specific market, making them more nimble and competitive. As the article notes, by splitting into three focused companies, Dow and DuPont aim to unlock value by giving each company the ability to concentrate on its unique strategies. This highlights the rationale behind the eventual separation and how it was viewed as an opportunity for growth and greater focus. Finally, the merger was structured to improve financial performance and increase shareholder values. By combining their strength and focusing on higher growth areas, Dow and DuPont aim to reinvigorate their operations, generate more returns, and position themselves for long-term success. In conclusion, they were able to merge Dow and DuPont, and this was a strategy that was designed to combine their resources, innovation, and global reach. The goal was to create a more efficient, focused, and competitive business structure that could meet the demands of a changing global market and providing lasting value to shareholders. Thank you.
This is Jason, and now I'd like to turn to the remedies offered by Trian. And I think they fit into three buckets: improve governance, assess structure, and make better decisions. Improving governance would be achieved by increasing the transparency of business performance and aligning compensation programs with performance, thereby increasing the overall accountability for that promised performance that had been missed in the last few quarters before the proxy contest. Under assessing structure, Trian nominees would assess the corporate structure and determine whether or not management was capable of achieving what they promised, which was best-in-class revenue growth and margins with the existing portfolio, or whether a change in the portfolio would be necessary to create more value. And when it came to decision-making, Trian was laser-focused on eliminating what they perceived as excess corporate costs and ensuring the productivity initiatives hit the bottom line. And also all types of other elements of investment and financing decisions to make sure they were in the best interest of the shareholders. Next, I want to turn to the remedies offered by DuPont, and I think they also fall into three categories: invigorate the board, parry the attacks by Trian, and fight back. When it comes to invigorating the board, DuPont decided in February of 2015 to rebut the agency problems asserted by Trian. Trian noted that they thought they had a great candidate for the board but were rebuffed by DuPont. So the DuPont board appointed two new members in February of 2015, Ed Breen of Tyco and Jim Gillooly of LyondellBasell, who were meant to show the independence of the board and the world-class nature of the board. In addition, DuPont parried the attacks and tried to diffuse the arguments made by Trian, highlighting the work already done to actively manage the portfolio through the spin-off of Performance Chemicals and removing major costs, including selling their hospitality businesses and increasing their efforts to tell management's theory of value creation at DuPont. And lastly, they fought. They fought back against the Trian proxy fight. They initiated a full-throated defense of DuPont's board and management as up to the task of improving performance. Lastly, I'd like to focus on the ramifications of everything, which I see as both negative, positive, and it depends on your perspective. Negative was fighting Trian was a huge use of resources and management time, and ultimately ineffective to prevent the major structural change at DuPont. It also had an indirect impact of weakening the company's competitive positioning and severely impacting employee morale. On the positive side, it showed a real commitment to good board governance practices. There was no poison pill, there were no supermajority voting provisions, and they also added really highly qualified directors during this proxy battle. But in the not sure category, 6 months after the proxy vote, after continued underperformance, CEO Ellen Kuhlman was pushed out along with much of the leadership team. Board member and portfolio breakup specialist Ed Breen was selected as the CEO and immediately embarked on a plan to restructure the company consistent with the Trian thesis that splitting up DuPont would maximize shareholder value.
After years of growth and diversification, DuPont's success began to stagnate. This caused the Trian Fund Management Group to call for major changes, trying to get 4 of their own members onto DuPont's board. Although DuPont came away winning the proxy fight, major changes were made to the organization and their leadership. DuPont's leadership had won the battle only to lose the war. Another outcome was a merger with Dow Chemicals. This was considered a merger of 2 equals, and each entity brought major value to the table. DuPont may not be what they once were, however, they were able to overcome the negative impacts of the proxy fight and are still listed on the Fortune 500 today.